What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the landscape photography series. Today we're going to talk about something new. You've heard me talk about it, and today we're going to be talking about bracketing and how I'm going to shoot this building. Okay, right now when we look at it, there's a lot of harsh light, the sun's reflecting off it, it's metal, it's a beautiful art center. So here's what I used to capture this shot. I used my 24-70 f2.8. I don't have it set up right now because they don't want you on their property and stuff like that. So I'm just being respectful and trying to stay out of people's way. But I used my 24-70 at ISO 50 from f8 to f11. Mainly I shoot at f11. I try not to go above f16. And I shot my bracketed exposures. My bracketed exposures were -3, -2, -1, and 0. And so from there, when you go into post-production, you're able to have the ability to blend all of that together. Once you're able to blend all of that together within post-production, you're able to then have your highlights and your shadows all together. And the reason is, you know, this building is very unique, okay? It's beautiful, it's got a beautiful reflective surface. And you got super bright areas that you normally wouldn't want to see. Yes, you can throw on a neutral density filter, but this is a shot that you cannot capture in a single shot, right? And so to do that, that's when these brackets come in. I personally try to shoot brackets when I can. There's some places where you can't have a tripod, and so you have to figure it out. So to set this up, you want to go into your camera and go into your bracketing menu. You want to choose the number of shots you do. I generally do 5. And so I set it up in increments of 1 stop apertures apart. So -2, -1, 0, +1, +2. That's generally what I have. Now, the higher you go, when it switches from negative to positive, that's when you're transitioning to your bright side. And when you hear me say a 0 stop is, that's your middle. That's where your middle of your shot's generally going to be, where you're going to have that perfect exposure for when you're shooting this type of building. Now, once everything is set up and mounted and your camera's on your tripod, you want to try to avoid movement, because this shot, you know, you want to use a remote shutter release or a 2-second timer. If you set a 2-second timer on the shot to capture this beautiful building, then what's going to happen is that it's going to automatically take the shots for you. You can do a 10-second timer if there's a lot of wind, so it just varies. And so you want to also try to avoid your tripod moving, and try not to move, because you don't want any vibrations. If you have a aluminum tripod, something you're going to run into is where you're going to have micro vibrations. If you take a lot of photos or a long series, you're not going to see it for this because it's such a short shot time. But if you're shooting astro and stuff like that, you might get into micro vibrations where your camera may be still, but if you have your shutter open and closed, it's going to send micro vibrations down those legs that are out, and you might be off by 1 or 2 pixels. That's why I highly recommend investing in a carbon fiber, because it's going to absorb some of that vibration. Now, after we capture this image, we're going to combine these in post-production. There's 2 ways you can do it. You can use an HDR software, which I'm not a big fan of. I know people swear by it. I know there's good ones out there. I don't. I like to have control over it. And so in my final image, I will blend using luminosity masks within Photoshop, which is a non-destructive way of creating my blended HDR. Yes, you're working with a bigger file. Yes, you're going to have a bigger print. Yes, you might have it to save it as a PSB, but at the end of the day, right, we're here to capture these beautiful sceneries. So to recap, you want to use a low ISO, you want to use your tripod, and you want to bracket your exposures and then merge them together in post-production to have a more stunning, aesthetical story. It's an easy process. especially one that every photographer should know, especially when you're shooting with a tricky subject like this behind me. And this is, like I said, a perfect example for this. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed these tips. Please follow, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video, my friends. Stay safe.